I think I was looking for this environment and I just couldn't find it. Right? Anybody ever feel like that? You're in your city. It's like, where do you find these successful people? I don't know. And I think what happened was I really got into personal development and I started listening to Jim Rohn. Jim will change your life. My gosh. He had these philosophies and these ideologies and the way he thought I could just relate to. So he would like break down these big complex subjects and just teach it so that a kid can understand it, so that I could understand it. And what happened was I started listening to this stuff over and over and over and over and over again. I stopped watching TV and I just kept listening to this stuff. What happened was I would do the same thing every weekend with my friends. Like we go out to the club, we're going to hang out, we're all going to chip in, put money on a bottle, we'll drink it before we get there so we don't have to buy drinks when we get in the club. That's the routine. We're going to pregame. Pregame was designed for people like me and my friends. I'm not about to spend $10 on a drink when we get a whole bottle for $40 and we all put money in. We'll be in there, be drunk by the time we get there. Never mind. I'm sorry. I had a flashback a little bit.
I didn't have that experience.
Oh, man.
Come back to the podcast.
So back to the podcast. So, like, I'm in this environment. This is what we do. It's expected on the weekends. This is what we're going to do. But I start listening to this personal development. It's just, he opened my mind up to a whole nother idea. And what happened was the environment that I started to go to now, I was uncomfortable. I didn't like cut them off like, I'm going to stop messing with y'all. It was just, we doing this again, y'all?
And then if you mention not doing it, you're the outcast.
Oh, yeah.
You're the outcast.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, this is what we need to do. We need to save our... And I think maybe my friends just thought I was trying to recruit them because I got into a business and I'm like, ooh, I can make some money. And I get in this other environment and I'm telling my friends like, listen, y'all, all you got to do is find 3 people. And those 3 people find 3 people.
And we rich. We rich.
We lit. I think more than the recruiting, I'm just becoming something different. I see the game. I see that we're going to spend $100 tonight when we could take this $100, you can sign up in this company that I'm in.
Yeah.
But I don't think my major goal was necessarily to recruit them. It was really to just involve them in what I'm doing. And they start to separate themselves. Because in this environment, this environment that I'm in with this new mindset, it just doesn't make sense. So I started to change. In the environment that I was comfortable in, got uncomfortable. And then I had to go find some comfort somewhere. And I found comfort in these conversations.
Yeah.
So now I'm seeking out these environments. Listen, if you're taking a note, you will always seek refuge in where you're comfortable. My goal at this point was to find where I'm comfortable. I'm now comfortable talking about success. I'm not comfortable going to the club, drinking, hanging out. I'm just not comfortable there. But it started with myself.
Yeah.
It started with me. It started with me at least making a decision to say, I'm going to stop listening to music in the car. Now, I know some people, they may love music. But I started to realize that music does something to you. It does something. I'm talking about hip hop, R&B, whatever. There are messages. Yeah. Am I bugging? Am I tripping? They're like messages. Now, we like the beat. We sing along with it, and then the song gets stuck in our head. But whatever's in our head shapes us. It's not like just the music that's in our head doesn't shape us, and we just like the beat. I had to stop listening to Mary J. Blige. I love Mary J. But my mindset started thinking, man, I ain't never about to be married. I'm straight. All them drama songs, I was like, man, relationships ain't for me. I'm being single for the rest of my life. Where I want to go, that's what I allow in my mind. So now, I don't care where you live, what city you live, you can change your environment. But we got to start with the environment in our mind first. Yo, you know what's crazy? I just thought about something. Anybody, your first time you had alcohol or liquor, you was like, ooh, this is delicious. the taste of it isn't like super desirable, right? But if you do it long enough, you'll develop a preference for the thing that you didn't like and an addiction. And you'll say, no, I like this vodka over this vodka. No, this vodka is delicious, man. I don't like this vodka. But when you first have vodka, period, it's like, ugh, what is that? Or the first time you smoked, or you had some sort of stimulant. It's like, yo, you wake up with a headache, you drink, you're like, oh my gosh, that was terrible.
But you go back for more.
And then you go back. But the going back probably has something to do with the people around you or your environment.
Or your addiction to just toxicity. Like it just works the same way. To your point, that first sip of Mad Dog 2020.
Oh, everybody remember that? Oh, in college? What?
That first sip of Mad Dog.
It's so sweet.
You drink it and it burns your soul out of your body. Oh my God. But somebody offer you a piece of soursop and you'll never have it again. You will never have it again. But that Mad Dog, though, you might not have the Mad Dog, but the Patron. You know your first shot of Patron. And it burnt a hole in your soul. But I offer you something healthy to eat. You don't like the way it tastes, so you frown your food up and you're done with it. I offer you an opportunity to now learn how to start that business that you want to start. You don't like the way the curriculum looks. Oh, it takes 7 weeks? Yes, it takes 7 weeks. Yes, it takes 7 weeks for you to learn how to scale, how to develop this skill. You have been working for 13 years and continue to learn how to be broke for 13 years. Why you can't spend 7 trying to get better?
You got to understand that life is designed that way.
Yeah.
There is no 100% every single day happiness, joy. I don't care how much money you got. I don't like something is going to happen that is tough to get over. It's life. It just is what it is. You can't get around it. So we went to my mastermind in Puerto Rico, and we were on this boat, and I see the captain jump off the boat. And, he's just like kind of like going around because we're all like, I don't know if I want to, we're going snorkeling. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, yo, he just runs off, jumps, boop, in the water. He's like, yeah, there are some jellyfish in there. Actually, my boy got stung by a jellyfish, but he didn't know it. He's just, it was like red. So he's like, oh, cool. So anyway, this guy, he's jumping into, it's like where we're at, it's like 20, 30 feet of water. So he's just jumping in. He's an expert swimmer, right? He just understands the water. He's the captain of the boat. So we get off, and then we kind of like dock at this beach, and then we're coming back or whatever. So we start talking about how I don't know how we got on it, but he's like, sometimes the water can be dangerous because the current pulls you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my assumption that the current pulls you underwater. I'm like, oh, the current, it like pulls you underwater because people die like that. He said, no, the current doesn't pull you underwater. I said, are you sure? Only because I was pulled by the current one time. I almost lost my life. My mom like pushed somebody into the water to come save me because I couldn't go. It was crazy. Anyway, but I felt like the current was pulling me underwater. But he said, no. Whichever way the wind is blowing, the current is going to take you that way, right? So it just pulls you. It's like say this is the beach. Like you see the water crashing into the beach, but it's like a circle. So the water coming this way, and then the current pushes you out, and it just takes you out into the middle of the sea. But he said eventually what happens is as the current pulls you out to the middle of the water, eventually it opens up and it lets you go. It just stops pulling you. So he said, yo, the current's going to pull you. He said, nobody can swim against the current. I said, surely. I'm like, well, how do you do it? Because I'm like really in my head, like, all right, if I'm ever in a life-threatening situation, I want to know what you did. Like, do I go down and then swim that way? He said, no. He said, even I cannot swim against the current. I said, so what do you do? He said, you just got to let it take you. He said, yo, it's going to push you, but eventually it lets you out. And you'll stop feeling the tug of the water, and then you just simply go around, come back on land, you just go around the current. And I said that was the biggest entrepreneurial lesson that I've ever learned. And I started to think I've been thinking about it since that day. It's been like a week. And I'm like understanding how current pulls you. It pulls you and you cannot fight against it. I said, well, how do people like drown? He said, well, people don't drown because they're being pulled underwater. They drown because they're fighting against the current and they're fighting against something that you can't fight against. But they're fighting so hard and they panic, and then eventually they get tired and they can't fight anymore and they drown.
Mm.
And he said, the way you get over that, you just have to let it take you, and eventually it'll let you out. And I'm like, yo, that has been my entrepreneurial career. There's going to be some current pulling you. I don't know what it looks like for you. It's going to be someone's going to pass away in your family, or you're going to lose your job, or someone's going to steal all your money, or something. It's going to pull you. But what I found out is that eventually it lets you go. Eventually things get better.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Right. We start fighting against things we can't fight against. And like, it, especially as an entrepreneur, if business gets slow and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And like, you want to try to figure some things out, but sometimes you have to just be in it.
Yeah.
I didn't fight against COVID, like the things that were happening. I didn't fight against it. I'm like, oh, okay, we're in it. How can I move while we're in it? Or sometimes business gets slow, and that's the current. It's like something happens in a business and things drop.
Mm-hmm.
My YouTube channel, it shot up and then it dropped. It dipped. I'm talking about like from 25,000 to like 9. And it dipped. But I didn't like start fighting. I'm like, yo, we just got to start putting out way more videos. Mm-hmm. I started taking classes. I started taking courses on YouTube. I started going to conferences on YouTube, understanding YouTube. And eventually it came down to these 3 things: your title, your topic, your title, and your thumbnail. And I'm learning these things. Mm-hmm. But I'm in the current while things are bad, but this is my time to learn and grow and accept it. And maybe sometimes it's your systems. And you got to like stop making sales for a second and say, okay, this is tough right now, but let me dig deep into the systems. Let me just go where this thing is taking me. And what can I learn? Because eventually, it will let you go. Things get better. I was thinking, I used to drink and drive. I'm sure some of you, in the last week or so,
had a drink and drove home.
Anybody gonna say?
Nobody's owning up to that.
They be going on dates. He be dating. I know he be in the street.
You go on a date, you have 2 drinks, you drive home.
Yo, you drive home. But what if it just happened to be one of those nights and I got into an accident? I'm locked up. I'm in there. Now, should I be drinking and driving? No. Did I mean to kill somebody? No. Did I make a bad decision? Absolutely. Let's put it this way. Let's say, for instance, you grow up in an environment where you're taught, kill or be killed, eat or be eaten. This is what's driven. Your father taught you, if you don't get them, they are going to get you. So from a child, you've been trained to get them. And when you get them, following the instructions of your father or your father figures in the streets, the only education that you know, and you act on that, and you get caught, you're in jail. Mm-hmm. Did you do something bad? Yes. Is it 100% your fault? I don't believe so. Your environment was, like, from a child, you've been shaped to think this way. And if nobody comes and gives you another way of thinking, this is the way the world is, right? So you were talking to somebody, Donnie was talking to somebody. You can tell the story about the dude with the box trucks.
Yeah. So I'm talking to one of the young men who's locked up. And so, you know, we all tell what we do. And I kind of put it in terms that they could understand. Basically, I am a business coach. I help people with ideas who want to do something, kind of take that idea and turn it into a business. So there's people they're waiting to talk because they all got ideas. That's all they've been thinking about. And one young man comes over and he's like, yo, you know, I got this box truck. I bought this box truck right before I got locked up. And I really want to know, you know, how I can make a business out of this. And I said, well, when you bought the box truck, what were your plans, right? Did you just buy it and hold it? Or did you have plans? He's like, oh, yeah, I had plans. Like, I knew how I was going to do it. But listening to you guys makes me want to do things differently. And I said, well, shoot, what was it? He's like, well, so I bought the box truck because I was going to transport stolen cars from Atlanta to Miami and make money like that. And so I'm just, well, thank you for your honesty, sir. So I had to tell him, well, hear me out. If you were going to take this box truck to transport stolen vehicles from Atlanta to Miami, instead of a stolen vehicle, we might be able to do, he's like, unstolen vehicles. I'm like, now we're thinking, now we're on to something, right? Now we might have it. He's like, unstolen vehicles. You know what? Now we're on to something. Now you're thinking like a legitimate entrepreneur. But it was so funny because this was still, he's in jail. I don't know specifically what his charges were, but he's in jail and he's still thinking about how he's going to make money. It has to be different from what got him locked up. That's what he said. I can't go back and do what I was doing. It has to be different. But different for him was still illegal. Different for him was still going to get him some type of felonious charges, some grand theft auto, charge. And so it was just this conversation. We were there for all of 45 minutes at that point, all of 45 minutes before he and I had this conversation. And he's like, now just, he never even considered unstolen vehicles.
Yeah. Do you know that there's a world that, like, and for us too, like let's go to the other side. We're having some successes in our business and things of that nature. And I joined this mastermind and my man Myron says something like, yo, I understand the idea of a 6-figure year. I get that. I understand making $1 million in a year. I get it. 100%. That'd be dope. Imagine $1 million in a year. You ever did that? You gonna do it though, right? Man, listen.
And it would be dope.
I'm in the room and they say something about $1 million day. And I don't understand. For a long time, I don't understand that. It just don't even make sense. How do you make $1 million in a day? $1 million in a year, tough enough, right? 6 figures ain't hard. I mean, ain't easy, right? But $1 million in a day, I don't understand the concept. But simply because I have not been in an environment that taught me the concept. And now we understand the concept, only because I've been in the environment. But there's some environments where a legal hustle means job. Yeah. Or there's certain environments where a legal hustle means I still can't feed my family with that. There has to be there's got to be something in it, right? Or we've been trained that the world is not fair and we got to go rob, steal, we got to get whatever the world owes us. This is the environment that we've been in. So this kind of goes to a point that the thing we talk about all the time, where your environment shapes who you are.
Yeah.
So if you want to become something different, you have to what?
Be around something different.
Yo, it's just that easy. It's just that easy. If you come to these podcast recordings every single week, you will be different next year. 100%. Because it's just a different conversation other than the conversation you're going to have outside of this with your friends, your family, maybe like some of your other entrepreneurs, and maybe they're your peers, maybe on the same level. They make 100,000, you make 100,000. It's a different conversation versus millions. You will be drastically different next year. I guarantee it, because you're going to be exposed to something else and your brain starts thinking in a different perspective. Yeah. Because we're opening your mind up to to a whole unstolen vehicles.
Unstolen vehicles.
I don't even get the concept. Or someone may have told him, this is what you do with a box truck. You take the car is the best way to transport this. I can't even think of another thing to do with a box truck because no one taught me what to do with a box truck. No one taught me it. But this is the vehicle that you get if you want to steal cars.
Yeah.
And get it from Atlanta to Miami. And what may happen in this world is someone says, yo, you can take them stolen vehicles from Atlanta to California. You're like, can I get it across country? And then your mind even expands in that way because you got around somebody that's transporting from Like, I remember when I was selling weed, again, I wasn't that good at it. When you start selling, like, I know you get an ounce and you break it down into all dimes. I sound crazy talking about it. You know what I mean? But that's what I know. And then somebody else, they say, yo, we don't sell that no more. We do pounds. I never got to that level, but moving in that direction, there's higher levels of understanding. And then eventually you're like, I don't do dimes no more. I do this.
Now you're the kingpin.
If you get around kingpins, you don't think like a soldier anymore.
Yeah.
So I told Terica, y'all want to invest in a property. We get a property. And now we got 60. And she's like, yo, I'm not doing no fix and flips no more. But in that environment, that's what I loved. Oh, we make $20,000 on a flip. It's crazy. I guess it's two-part. I say it's our responsibility, but on another end, it's not our fault, because if somebody just doesn't know, how do they know? Like, so slavery times, right? What is the difference between Harriet Tubman and someone that just stayed there? They're in like similar situations, but it was something inside of Harriet that said, I'm going to go. My life isn't, and maybe her thing was her life isn't as valuable as the freedom of her people. So if I have to risk my life for the attempt, and maybe if they catch me, they'll kill me, but it'll inspire a whole bunch of people and they can't catch us all. So Harriet took her life and her destiny in her hands. But I'm sure there's somebody that she talked to that said, hey, let's go. And they said, no.
Yeah, that's why she killed him.
Well, she didn't kill everybody. She
killed a few of them.
On the road. I'm talking about, like, let's say they're on a plantation, she's working, and someone's next to her like, yo, we're leaving tonight. And she says no. The person says no. She doesn't kill them. It's saying, yo, I'm going to go too. But the point is, the person that she talks to that says, no, I'm not going, it's not that person's fault that she doesn't like own her life and say, I'm going to try.
Mm-hmm.
She's afraid.